My name is Donna Duggin. This is the Donna Mae Duggin. I've been a member of this church since 1975, although I was associated with it when it was still a mission, because I belonged to Woodbury first, and I was in and out here. So sometime before that, and this has been my home for a long time. I've gotten away from it at times, but I always come home. I love this church with all my heart. And I just can't, it just hurts me to see anybody hurting it. Because it's one of the biggest parts of my life. Now, I've seen hard times here. I've seen times when we didn't have the money to pay the light bill. I've seen times when it was so cold in here. On Wednesday night, we had to keep our coats on. We had one elderly lady that never in her life had wore pants, and she had to wear her pants under her dress on Wednesday night. Things like that. I've seen it try to tear apart. I've seen preachers try to tear it apart. Thank God we're still here. I think I describe this church as maybe the most loving church there is right now. I know that I tell everybody when they come to visit, we love you, because I think that's the word. You know, I've seen hard times here. I've seen just heartbreaking times, but I'm still here for now, and who knows how long. You know.
What would you tell others if you had the opportunity? What would you want them to see? Blessings that you've seen, what would you want to impart to them?
To get involved in church, to tell people you love them, even if you don't. And because if you keep telling them, you believe it too. And I've seen people that didn't really like, and I could tell them I love them, I hug them, and then they become friends. To support my preacher, if he's doing the right thing, that is. I mean, just because he's got the name of preacher doesn't mean he's doing God's work, because I've seen the opposite that nearly tore this church apart. Then I became involved in this and that, and then we finally moved out here. Matter of fact, we moved our whole house out here. Preachers called us the Turtles, so we just took our home with us. So in the very first Sunday, my husband said, "Let's try Plainview," because it was close to home, and that's where we got involved. And when he was killed here, he was chairman of the deacons, and I never thought I'd see that. That's what that church did for us. I mean, I've seen joy in this church, and I've seen sadness in this church. And I just wanted to make a statement and leave something behind, you know, so that maybe I made it. I had one big joy. I taught Sunday school, and out of that, I saw a preacher. Not what I did, but what God did. Greg Mitchell was in my class for a long time. He had been gone maybe, I don't remember exactly everything, maybe three or 4 weeks, and the kids were giving me some hard times. So to keep from losing my mind, went to the barn. And of course, I'm sure God took me down there. And then when I started back up to the house, it had rained a little bit, and there was a big rainbow over my house. And then I knew we were going to be all right. But you can't control what your kids do anyway. But, I mean, I got them all raised. So, but he's still here. In spirit, I feel like. But there's been, God's been really, really good to me. One night we had there was a tornado warnings in the middle of the night. And my son came to me in the middle of the night and they told me he couldn't keep the covers on his bed. So I got up, went outside to see what was going on. It was dark black. The electric was off and I didn't know it. And so I went out, I heard somebody across the street crying. And so I went out and there was a telephone pole at the corner of my house. And as I went up to that to look across the street, I heard a voice, just as plain. It said, don't take another step. Next day I went in and there was a live wire where I was going to take my next step. And I always will think it was the voice of an angel, I don't know what. But the next day I found out that it had taken the roof off the house next door to me and imploded the one across the street and then had gone on over to downtown. You know, that was devastation. So I felt like God was telling me something. And I've always felt that way. I've always felt him close. Even before, I wasn't saved till I was like 23. But I went to Sunday school because somebody took me. And I just know he's been with me all the time. Ever since I was little, I just didn't realize that. But I've come to a realization one time on Easter. I was still getting an Easter basket now. And they had candy, marshmallow candy, in the shape of a cross. And they had at the Sunday school I was going to, they had, at Easter time, had a film on it called King of Kings. It was, I was maybe 10, 11, maybe not that old. And that's when I realized what the cross was. I know, it just come to me. It was a time when they couldn't show a person on the cross to Jesus. That was before they could do that. So that's why, I guess, why it stayed with me. But that was the start of it. And I was saved in the first revival I was ever in. So I know God's been with me every bit. I know it.